My name is Yasmin Palomo, and my policy assignment is on Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act of 1974, also known as CAPTA. I'm apologizing in advance for the noise that you hear in the background. So what is CAPTA? CAPTA was originally enacted in Public Law 93 to 247. This provides federal funding to states in support of prevention, assessment, investigation, prosecution, and treatment activities, and also provides grants to public agencies and nonprofit organizations for demonstration programs and projects. It was further amended by the Child Abuse Prevention Challenge Grants Reauthorization Act of 1989. It was most recently amended on May 29, 2015, by the Justice for Victims of Trafficking Act of 2015. The law was completely rewritten in the Child Abuse Prevention, Adoption, and Family Services Act of 1988. The sponsor of this act was Walter Mondale, and he was the senator of Minnesota. The bill was enacted after being signed by the president on January 31st of 1974. Describe the problems the policy was designed to correct. For the purposes of this act, the term child abuse and neglect means the physical or mental injury, sexual abuse, negligent treatment, or maltreatment of a child under the age of 18 by a person who is responsible for the child's welfare under circumstances which indicate that the child's health or welfare is harmed or threatened, thereby as determined in accordance with the regulations prescribed by the Secretary. Describe the extent or scope of the problem. So as you see here, I have a picture. I couldn't exactly get the statistics of child abuse in Houston, but I got the overall average from Texas in all. Out of 47,000 child victims in Texas last year, 26% were not even old enough to attend kindergarten. Out of 47,000 child victims in Texas each year, 33% of these children are male. Out of 47,000 child victims in Texas each year, 67% of these children are female. In 1 year, more than 47,000 children received critical services at a children's advocacy center in Texas. Explain why a policy solution is necessary to address the problem. I believe a policy solution is really necessary because what matters most in this world now is the safety of these children. And in my personal opinion, I feel like not a lot of people are actually paying attention to child abuse that is going around now. And I feel like people, they don't understand that it's not just about physically abusing a child, but it has to deal with emotional. Emotional abuse can also have such a burden on a child, and when you're neglected by your guardian or your parent or someone that you expect to love you, and they're neglecting you, that does a lot on a person. And I believe that there should be a solution, not only just in Texas but around the world. Hearing about the statistics that I just said before, it blows my mind on how many children are actually being abused and neglected, and I believe that there should be a solution ASAP. Describe the goals and objectives of this policy. So the goals of the CAPTA is to provide financial assistance for a demonstration program for the prevention, identification, and treatment of child abuse and neglect, to establish a national center on child abuse and neglect, and for other purposes. This law was made to protect children. It was, they enacted this so that way there would be services and programs and organizations that will help a child, get away from the area that they're in. This law is here to help these children, to help anyone to help another child get out of this bad situation. Describe the policy benefits and/or program services. The Secretary, through the Center, is authorized to make grants and contract grants to and enter into contracts with public agencies or non-profit or private organizations. For example, programs and projects are designed to prevent, identify, and treat child abuse and neglect. Grants or contracts under this subsection may be for the development and establishment of training programs and professional and paraprofessional personnel in the field of medicine, law, education, social work, and other relevant fields who are engaged or intended to work in the field of prevention and maltreatment of child abuse and neglect, and training programs for children and for people responsible for the welfare of children in methods of protecting children from child abuse and neglect. Describe the service delivery system. How will these services be implemented? So, for the establishment and maintenance of centers serving geographic areas staffed by multidisciplinary teams of child abuse and neglect cases to provide a broad range of services related to child abuse and neglect, including direct support and supervision of satellite centers and attention homes, as well as providing advice and consultation to individuals, agencies, and other organizations which request such services. Now, for furnishing services of teams of professional and paraprofessional personnel who are trained in this prevention, identification, and treatment of child abuse and neglect cases on a consulting basis to small communities where such services are not available, and for such other innovative programs and projects, including programs and projects for parent self-help and for prevention and treatment of drug-related child abuse and neglect that show promise of successfully preventing or treating cases of child abuse and neglect as the Secretary may approve. Describe policy financing. Federal funds made available under this Act for any fiscal year will be so used as to supplement and to extend practicable increase the level of state funds which would, in the absence of federal funds, be available for such programs and projects. For these purposes of this Act, $15 million for the fiscal year ending on June 30th, 1974. $20 million for the fiscal year ending in June 30th, 1975, and $25 million for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 1976, and for the succeeding fiscal year. Describe any aspects of the policy needing change to make programs and services more effective and efficient. So as you can tell, I didn't write anything on this particular slide because I feel like I can just speak it out. And for policy change to make this program more effective, I feel like there should be more signs or more flyers or representatives speaking more on it. I feel like this should be something that everyone should be worrying about because this is, like I said before, the safety of a child. And I feel like now people are just, worrying about what's on the social media, what's happening with celebrities. Like, for instance, people are worried about, is Kylie and Chloe pregnant? They're worrying about things that aren't necessary. Those things shouldn't matter. What should matter is the safety of these children. What should matter is to make more programs to help these children get out of this bad situation, to let these children know that they are loved by someone, because them being in this situation can lead them into something worse, can lead them into their own death, and that's not something that we should want for a child. Not saying that people, some people are just like, oh yeah, they should die. No, but people are worrying about the wrong things when this is something that they should be worrying about. And I feel like to make it more effective, there should be more representatives or more nonprofit organizations putting themselves out there. Like, I volunteered when I was in Austin at a place called Con Mi Madre, and it helped young Latina women with empowerment. Something like that. It doesn't have to do with child abuse, but to give an example, they would always go to different colleges and, put themselves out there saying, hey, we're here to help these Latina teenage women empower themselves, because, some society sometimes think very low of Latina women. And so I feel like these nonprofit organizations or these private organizations should come forth and say, hey, this is here, this is now, this is serious. We need to do something about it. What are you going to do to help us? What do you think we can do to help these children? I feel like if they put themselves out there more and try to reach out to college students or families or people who were previously abused, I feel like reaching out to them and having them tell their story, it would be more effective and more efficient to help these children into safety. Thank you.